Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. I got a tough one for you today. We have these two black pawns, both two steps away from promotion. They are connected. We are blessed with some heroic knights here, two of them, and we're going to use them to stop the pawns somehow. But the question is, of course, how to do it. So I think you can pause the video now and just think about this. It's a pretty long variation, so you have to find a series of moves in how to stop the pawns and then get out of this game winning. So try it right now. Go ahead. And welcome back. Okay, so of course, if we do a random move like moving a pawn, it's like we'll play d2, and we are not going to stop this pawn. So we need to be a lot more creative than that. Also, the king moving the king is way too slow. D2 will come, and we cannot do anything about that pawn either. We might save a draw because we have two knights versus a queen in the end, but anyway, it's winning that we are looking for. So we need to move one of the knights, and it turns out pretty quick that this knight is doing very good here. It blocks the king a little bit. It covers both squares here. It's practically ideally placed, which leaves us with this knight. We have to move it. And the obvious move is never right. The obvious move is perhaps knight h3 with the plan of getting it to f2. But it's not winning, actually. If black plays d2 now, yes, then it's winning. Then we can sacrifice here and then put our knight, the other one, on f2, blocking the d1 square. And even if black decides to pass, not take it, then we'll simply go back to f3 with our knight, and this one will be stopped. And we are winning easy as white also. But after we play knight to h3, black will not play d2. Instead, he will play e2. It doesn't look like the strongest because we are already protecting e1, but it's for sure a very good move because he's now threatening d2 now, and then both pawns on the second rank. And it seems it's too hard to stop. It's just impossible. It allows us to come to f2, but when he pushes d2, we cannot stop this. We will be forced to take and allow him to get a queen. And yes, we can put one knight up here, so they are protecting each other. We got the extra pawns here, but this is not enough to win. This is just enough to get a draw as white, but not better than that. So starting all over again, knight h3 is not the correct move. The only move that wins from this position is this knight to e2. We're sacrificing the knight right away. And this is kind of brilliant. Was we see pretty quick that black obviously cannot take here. Then he has a double pawn, and it's already stopped with this knight here. We don't have to move it. Instead, we can just move the king, block the black king in total, and then we just go and collect the pawns and easy win from there. So it is kind of a sham sacrifice. Knight e2. Black will instead push d2. And now, I mean, it doesn't look better now. We certainly cannot stop this pawn. Our pawn here is in the way. We cannot put our knight there. So what did this do, really, the knight e2 move? Well, it's setting up for a nice little variation. So if you come this far, I haven't solved it all the way, then you can pause the video again and see if you can find out how white wins from this position. Go ahead. Okay, here we go. So we actually have two options here. Option one is not winning. Knight g3 check. It looks pretty good, but black will attack, and he was attacking both our knights here. And even if we are moving this up here, well, he can just grab the knight or get a queen. Actually, it's even better to just grab the knight here. So this is not doing anything good. And if we're trying to sacrifice here with the intention of going here later, I will come into this, explain more. But now black will simply take this knight directly. And now he's threatening to take, he's threatening to pass. The king is blocking now, so we cannot come back to f3, and this is no way. We can do the check here, but this pawn will fall. We grab this pawn, otherwise it will become a queen. He takes back, and you see this pawn will fall also. We cannot protect it with our king, it's too far away. So this is just a draw. So if we start all over from the beginning, like this, knight e2, black plays d2. The idea of putting the knight here is right, but we have to start with sacrificing this knight. We take here, obviously black has to take back, otherwise it's nothing. And now we get a check. And the idea of this is, if black now comes down to g4, then we can put the knight here. We are attacking the pawn. If he promotes to a queen, we get a fork, and we win this. And if he ignores it, we're gonna do this, and this is winning also. He cannot take the knight, and he can attack here, but since it's already guarded, we can just get our king closer and win this easy. And if black tries to promote to a knight instead, to stop this fork down here, it's pretty good, but our two pawns now will win this for us. I think the best way, we can either push the pawn to f5, or we simply play the king to e5 also. Perhaps he comes here and is threatening fork here to win the f pawn, but then we can just push it, or we can even start with a check, forcing the black king away or down, and then we push the pawn. You see, these two pawns, they're good enough to win this. Black will not be able to stop them both. So after sacrifice, black takes back. We get a check. You see what happens if it comes to g4. What happens if it comes to h4 instead? Well, can you see it? Yes, here it comes. We give it a check here on f5. Now it comes down here. Another check. It grabs, and we just put our knight on d1. And for sure, this is no way black is being able to do anything here. He can attack. We just move our knight, and we sacrifice it, and the pawn will be enough to win. So I think I covered all the variations actually. Let's do a quick recap. From the starting position, we play knight e2. Black will not take, instead he will pass. Sacrifice again. This time he has to take. Another check. Obviously, if the king comes up, we can look at that also. There's a check. Either it goes to h4 or up here, it's a check, and we come down to e3. Or if he attacks, we simply play here and threatening the fork here after promotion and threatening the pawn right away. So that's how you win this. It's not easy, but it's very beautiful, and I hope you really enjoyed it. See you tomorrow again for another chess video. Bye bye.